Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now, it's real time.
Welcome back, everybody. Look who we got here. We've got everyone's favorite, Chris Bertopoulos, in the studio. He's the owner-operator of Chris V's Guide Service. And first off, it's great to see you, right?
On a Sunday. See you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as soon as we make the announcement that we got Chris V coming in, again, I'm not a huge social person, social media thing. Anyway, people just, hey, Chris, all right. They love you, man. I mean, your clients have always pitched in saying, dude, greatest guy to be out there with, but you're so damn hard to get in the boat with.
I pay those people to call me.
He pays them in chrome.
Yeah.
So first off, I want to kind of catch up with you. It's steelhead season. You are extremely well known as a steelhead guide, as well as everything else. How's your steelhead season been?
It's going pretty good. I mean, the weather has been the problem for me, and I lost a lot of business in January. I'm trying to make up some of that on Fridays and Saturdays, and the weather has just been tough this year.
Right.
It's, they call it an El Nino year, so that might have something to do with it.
It's a weird El Nino year. We've experienced numerous El Ninos here in the Northwest
over the years,
and this is one that I would call very interesting as opposed to some of the ones we've seen in the past because of the cold spells, the amount of rain. It's not necessarily traditional to the quote unquote El Nino year.
Yeah.
Like this morning, they were just talking about the pass could be interesting. Heading towards the coast, heading the other direction as well could be interesting.
I'm heading that way right after the show, and so I got to put it in four-wheel drive, probably about close to the top, and go through some snow.
But, well, be careful. You got spring Chinook season to look forward to.
I do.
So my next question would be: we're going to get into this with Chris. We got lots of questions to ask him. One at least from one of our viewers. The Columbia. I know you'd like to spend a lot of time on the Columbia too, as long as you can. We've got a short window there, like literally a month. When are you going to start?
I start on the 27th.
The 27th
of March.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm going to fish through the closure, which is the 5th, by the way.
The Friday the 5th.
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday we had mentioned the 4th being Friday, and that's not the case. It's the 5th. So we got a month on the Columbia, and you start that last week. So the first 3 weeks, you're still focused on steelhead.
I still got steelhead to catch.
Gotcha.
And it is my favorite thing to do, steelhead fishing. So I'm going to milk that as much as I can.
I don't blame you. All right. So next obvious question would be when you start. That third week of March, because there's going to be a lot of us that are going to be out there much earlier than that. Are you going to start low, mid, high?
Yeah, I fish down low. I'm going to fish down in the Clatskanie area and so on, around Tenasselee Island and all that, up and down Puget Island and so on. That's where we first start catching the springers.
Gotcha.
That's where the first biters get caught down there.
Gotcha. Is it a comfort thing for you, or just as simple as those fish will hang out there?
I got to know it years ago, and I enjoy it down there. That's great scenery, and it's a place I like to fish for the early season until the Willamette opens up, I guess you could say.
Or at least becomes viable.
Yeah.
Which could be interesting. We'll see how all that kind of plays out. But it is that time. It's the first week of March. I mean,
there's already been fish caught.
Yeah, you're only talking a couple of weeks out before you're really in the midst of chasing these fish around. So I don't want to take the conversation specifically to bait only, but it's a good one, and we got him here, so let's go there. Your thoughts on bait. How important is it for best herring, best prawns, best coon shrimp, best whatever is it to you? I mean, is there one that's more important than the other? Maybe is the best way to ask.
Having good quality bait is number one. It's important. I don't feel confident. We talked about this earlier this morning. I don't feel confident if my bait isn't top notch. And from year to year to year, you get your bait early, and you hope to have the best bait possible. And if you have any doubts about it, it kind of
grinds on you.
Yeah. But having good bait, and it's, when you have good bait, you can look at it and tell it's good bait.
Okay, that's my next question. How do you know if it's good bait?
Well, first and foremost, it's got to have all its scales on it on both sides. When you've thawed it out and started to take it off of the styrofoam tray, you look at the other side, are all the scales there? You want all the scales on both sides. Look at your eyes too. Your eyes, if they're real cloudy, that's an indicator that they've been frozen a long time. And that may not be the best bait if you have real cloudy eyes.
Sure.
To me, the best indicator is when I take a thawed out bait and I chop the head off with a knife, does it bleed?
Right.
I want reddish blood to come out of there, not a brown ooze. And that just tells me.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah. If you've seen a lot of brown ooze, you probably should look for some better quality bait somewhere.
That or a spinfish loaded up with some tuna and cross your fingers, right? Really, because I got my butt handed to me last year. It was just one of those years where, and I think as just the average fisherman like I am, we have those years, right? Where you could have one year where you just do everything right. And I really think that is because that year I had good bait. And then the next year, last year, I don't think I had good bait because I had that situation like you're referring to where it was a little bit older.
Yeah.
You could see that the eyes were clouded up. When you would cut them, some of them didn't cut great, and some of them were full of eggs. And those are not the baits that you typically want to see. Now, we're going to dive more into this a little bit in this upcoming segment in our Chevy Silverado Tech Tip of the Week. But how about prawns? Now, we talked about this prior to the show. It's something that a lot of us has kind of gotten away from. And we probably shouldn't because it is a very good bait to catch springers on the Columbia the Willamette, of course, and the Columbia. Most folks might not think that that's a bait that you'd use on the Columbia, but it is absolutely a very good one. How do you know you got good prawns, especially if you're buying pre-cured prawns?
Well, a good prawn is a crispy prawn to me. I like a nice crisp one, not a soft-shelled one.
Sure, okay.
And, look in your supply of prawns, whether you buy a Ziploc bag full or you buy a little tray of them. Are you seeing a lot of blackheads in there?
Right.
Blackheads fall off real easy. Then all you've got is a tail to work with.
Sure.
What you're talking about, we've got away from them a little bit. More people, I think, have gone towards the coon shrimp, which is a very viable bait, by the way. It's just a small prawn, is what it is.
Right.
Maybe with the cure process is a little different, giving it a little bit different flavor.
Sure.
But a prawn and a coon shrimp to a fish are the same thing.
Yeah.
And coon shrimp are still a very viable bait, all season long, from the cold water all the way up into the fall when we have warm water temperatures.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, they work all the time.
Right.
Under different applications, whether it be with a spinner blade, a spin and glow, or all by themselves.
Sure.
So, don't forget about the coon shrimp. And if you're torn between buy a prawn or buy a supply of prawns or buy a supply of coon shrimp, I'd probably lean more towards the coon shrimp these days. Yeah.
Okay, that's darn good advice because there's lots of different options that are out there. Pre-cured, you can cure your own. ProCure has a number of different versions of prawn cures that you can use for a lot of different things. But I guess the best way to finalize that up, how important to you is bait? Is it number one on your list of things to be successful? Number two, number three, number four?
For springers, it's number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Focus on that. And a lot of us are it's difficult sometimes to find that top shelf, best grade A herring that you can get, right? Now, I think when we come back from this break in our upcoming Chevy Silverado Tech Tip, maybe that's a question that we can ask Chris. How do you take bait that might not be the absolute best and still make it where you can be confident when you're fishing it? Which is very important when you're fishing herring. If you're not confident, man, I go through so much bait just going, I can't get it right.
Yeah.
We'll be back with Chris in just a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Chevy Silverado and the impressive new Turbo Max engine. Flex your muscle with the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever. Official truck of Outdoor GPS.